is the Fade 5 Podcast with Brad Evans and Nate Lundy.
Place your bets, you jackwagons! Brad Big Noise Evans here. The good sir Nathaniel Lundy. 'Tis indeed the Fade 5 Podcast presented by Suavecito Tequila. It is a Friday, Lundy, and it's championship weekend in college foosball. So a number of major conferences going to have their showdowns to crown a champ. Looking over the canvas of games that are out there, side, total, maybe a money line parlay of sorts, anything strike you? What is your college football pick to click?
Well, Brad, I'll tell you what, we can talk about tomorrow in bonus time. So I'm gonna save because I've got a little money line. I've got a simple money line one for tomorrow's action that actually has plus odds that I'm pretty happy about. But let's talk about tonight, shall we? Let's talk about tonight. I'm taking USC, and I'm taking UTSA. And if I put both of those together, Brad, nice and simple on the money line, that's a plus 120. That's it.
Ooh.
That's because USC is sitting at a minus 145, I think, if I remember correctly, over at DraftKings. It's right in that range, basically, for everybody across the board. I think USC is the better team compared to Utah. But I don't want to pay the 145. UTSA is heavy favorites tonight. And so I pop those two together, just straight money line. I get myself to a plus 120. Are you on the Utes, my friend, or are you also enjoying the USC Trojans run?
I don't really have a play in that game. If I had a lean, it would be with the Trojans, who are just electric offensively, and they're averaging close to 500 total yards per game. And I love the call when you take the USC money line. If you do like it and you're leaning that direction, and slap it together so you reduce the juice, slightly get seduced by the juice with UTSA. As Lundy is hacking up last night's concert.
That was just a sneeze. I am just fine, my friend. I had fun. I had a great time at that concert, as tends to happen, as you well know.
Yes.
With my wife and her personality. We have new friends now that were with us near us in our seats. But we had a great time. Those of you that are fans of the show Yellowstone, Brad, have you gotten into Yellowstone yet?
I am, 7, 8 seasons, how many seasons there are behind. And generally speaking, when the seasons accumulate on a series, I never catch up.
All right. Well, if you are a fan of Yellowstone, if you're listening or watching, you know the band Shane Smith and the Saints. My wife and I happen to be friends with Shane, and so that's who we saw last night here in Denver. So, but we had a great time. Got a chance to say hi to Shane after the show. So it was a bit of a late night, Brad. But as you can tell by the glorious pipes right here, I did not go too crazy. I am still here, and we are still rocking on the Fade 5.
Well, hopefully Shane is a kumbaya with us on this USC and UTSA moneyline parlay, which I do like. I'm going to give you my college football to click this weekend. It's the under in the Big Ten title game between Michigan and the Purdue Boilermakers. And I think there's some value here on the line because everybody saw the suplexing that Michigan applied to the Ohio State late in that game. It just got out of hand at the shoe last weekend. They're thinking, hell, the Wolverines can actually score the football. They're good for at least 30, 35. Hell, they may hit 40 points against Boiler up. But both these teams outstanding defensively. Michigan, number 2 in total defense, number 3 in scoring defense, giving up just 12.7 points per game this season. And Purdue are no slouches defensively as well. Number 34 in total defense in yardage, and they're giving up to just 23.1 points per game. I think the Boilers do get on the board at some point in this contest. Something like 24-7 makes a lot of sense to me here in the end. Michigan, sealing the deal there, and the total's at 52. I just think it's extraordinarily high for a pair of stout defensive clubs.
Brad, you're talking about a line, by the way, that opened at 50.5. And how's this for you? Courtesy of our friends at BetMGM. 85% of the money is on the over.
Oh, fade the living daylights on the majority. That's all I got to say about that. All right, with college football in the books. Oh, we got the NFL to talk about. Let's get after it with another edition of the Fade 5.
Number 5.
All right, as always, feature here on the podcast every single Friday. My favorite player props to make you some pennies here this NFL Sunday, and it's been a profitless endeavor and exercise here the last couple of weeks. So hopefully we're going to right the ship because it's been capsized for some time. And I'm going to start off with George Pickens, and I'm going to take the over, the rookie from the University of Georgia, on the 19 and a half yards longest catch prop. Juiced up a little bit, minus 125 at DraftKings, but I'm not fearful of this juice because all he does is make acrobatic catches and toe taps on the sideline. That toe drag swag for a chunk gain usually gets one of those a contest from the hand of Kenny Pickett, a guy that's number 5 in average depth of target in the NFL, number 6 in total deep ball targets. Those are passes beyond 20 yards. He's got 19 of those. He's hit the over consistently here. He's got 11 times 20 or more yards on a single catch. And a guy that's, really only had a full-time load here the last about 4 or 5 weeks since the exit of Chase Claypool. So knowing, too, that he gets a premium matchup against the ATL, the Falcons, and specifically Darren Hall at cornerback, who's given up, just a 73.1% catch rate and 140.4 passer rating to his assignment. So Pickens showcasing that Cirque du Soleil dexterity and contortionism. I'm not even sure that's a word. I think it's at least a 20-plus yard catch in this one. Lundy, feed or follow the UGA product on the over 19.5 yards longest catch, minus 125 at DraftKings.
The UGA product? What?
UGA.
Is it like a knockoff of those boots that Tom Brady was hawking? There for a while?
Yeah, my wife loves them.
Oh yeah, they all do. Apparently, they keep your feet really warm. I just don't need like moon boots on my feet because those things are huge. I agree on the acrobatic nature. George, maybe just catch it and run. Like maybe not do all the flair. Just like, why don't you just catch and run? That's what Brad and I need you to do to hit the over on this one. I'm going to follow on this one. This is a great player prop. Good way to be able to find some value on the young receiver, especially as you said, going up against the ATL. This is favorable for him, and I'm surprised this number is not at least at 20.5 or 21, to be honest with you. So I think you got some value here with an easy bet, easy juice. The minus 125 doesn't scare me. I think we're sitting in good territory, and I think Brad, I think he's good for 24 plus. So I really like this number.
George Pickens over 19 and a half yards longest catch. Steal some cash from the book.
Number 4.
All right, let's go with another name here that is white hot, at least he was last week against my Chicago Bears. And thank you for destroying my Chicago Bears and increasing their draft pick standing as a result, and that is Mike White. I'm going to take the over 1.5 passing touchdowns at minus 105. So a light juice here at BetMGM. White was brilliant last week against the Bears. 78.5% completion rate, which is insane, just off the charts there. Completed a ball to 11 different wide receivers, 315 passing yards in total, 3 passing touchdowns, and a nearly flawless 149.3 passer rating in that effort. Now you get another NFC North foe, and one that I would say is equally vulnerable defensively in the secondary, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. They've allowed 8.25 pass yards per attempt. They've also given up 293.3 pass yards per game, 16 total touchdowns to the quarterback position, and they've also allowed a multi-TD passer in 5 of their last 6 games. So skull, not so much. Mike White makes this thing competitive. I also kind of like bonus time, the over on 44 in this game. I think that's way too low. And I love to the over on White passing touchdowns, minus 105 at BetMGM. Lundy, fade or follow.
Well, you stole my thunder on the 5 out of the last 6 games that Minnesota's been allowing it to happen. No picks for them over the course of the last 2 games. They went on a streak there. We talked about the vulnerability of their secondary. They actually went on a streak there, in whatever, I can't even remember what weeks we're talking about, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right in that range. They went through a streak where they were actually getting multiple interceptions, believe it or not. But over the course of the last couple of weeks, they've been extremely vulnerable. They obviously gave up a ton of yards on Thanksgiving Day to the Cowboys. So you put all that together. Mike White, it may be backup time. It may be the exact fodder that the New York Post loves to have to be able to talk about what's happening with the New York Jets. God, they love to make fun of the Jets. But this is set up perfectly. I like the over with this. I think it's another multi-touchdown game because Minnesota has shown that vulnerability without a doubt. And I like your bonus time on the yards as well. On the points total as well. I think it's set way too low in this game. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring.
Will the magic continue for Mike White? You're damn right it will.
Number 3.
All right, let's get an SGP/OGP on the board. And come with me on this one, Lundy. Let's go to the Raiders and Chargers matchup. Right now, Las Vegas actually favored by 1 point, which I found rather surprising. But the reason why they're probably favoring this game is because the opposition cannot stop the run. So as a result, give me Josh Jacobs, 85-plus rush yards. And I'm going to slap that together with Austin Eckler, the pride of Western State, now Western Colorado University in Gunnison, 30-plus receiving yards. Oh, and your little baby gets seduced by the juice there, a plus 105 at DraftKings on this SGP. To give you some background here, Josh Jacobs, I know he's been practicing on a limited basis this week, but should be good to go. I don't think he's going to have any limitations. A similar setup that he had last week, and there were no restrictions at all for him on the ground as he pulverized the opposition. And I think that's going to be the case yet again because the Chargers have allowed 5.64 yards per carry, 133.3 rush yards per game, and 14 combined touchdowns to the running back position. He has achieved, or the Chargers have allowed, I should say, the over on this 8 times, and Jacobs has achieved this several times this season. One of the league leaders in yards after contact per attempt, the league leader in missed tackles force. He's got 63 in total on the year. It's been just a spectacular year for him, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, he only had 10 for 57 in the first matchup back in week 1, but this offense has evolved. He is now the centerpiece of it, and he's going to get probably at least 20 carries in this game. Meanwhile, for Eckler, he hit the over in week 1 on the 30 receiving yards. I think he's going to duplicate or even best that effort at 36 yards in that contest. You look at Vegas giving up 6.5 receptions and 54.5 receiving yards per game. 7 guys, including Eckler's week 1 performance, have gone over this number. And Austin's good for what? 7, 8 targets on those Texas routes out of the backfield. So Josh Jacobs, 85-plus rush yards. Austin Eckler, 30-plus receiving yards. Ooh, a cool plus 105 at DraftKings. Lundy, fade or follow?
I've been getting burned by some of these OGPs lately. And so I start to get a little bit nervous, but then I see here, this is the problem. Then I look at this one and I go, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I just completely back up a Brinks truck for this one? Because you're exactly right about Jacobs. You're right about Eckler in terms of the routes he's going to run, the targets that he's going to wind up getting. And I don't know. I mean, you and I will probably get burned on this on something, Brad. Something is going to happen just because of the fact that A, I'm going to follow you, and B, I've had bad luck on my OGPs lately. But they keep sucking me in. They keep reeling me back in like one of those bad Sunday morning fishing shows. I'm telling you, this one, I really like this one. I wanted to try to find, this is actually true, as I was starting to look at some of the props for this weekend. I was like, all right, I need to figure out something that I can do to pair up with Josh Jacobs. Started looking at reception. I'm trying to think of who I can, and you served it to me on a silver platter with Eckler. I like this one a lot. I like the plus 105. It feels nice and simple. Josh Jacobs better not screw me, man.
I tell you what, cast a line, and you're catching a bass for that ass. Well, plus 105 with this prop.
Number 2.
All right, numero dos of the Fade 5 on this Friday edition. I'm going to take the under and live in the land down under on Saquon Barkley, 69, not so nice, and a half rush yards, minus 115 at BetMGM. Admittedly, I grabbed this one. It opened at 71.5 on the under. Hasn't creeped too low, and I would still bet the under on this. Why? Because you look at Washington, last 5 games, 3.77 yards per carry allowed at the running back position, just 66.4 rush yards per game surrendered as well. Only two running backs have gone over this total against him this year. It was Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. And you look at Saquon here last 4 games. Lundy, grab a bucket because you're going to probably barf as a result of this. He's got a 1.81 yak per attempt mark. That's one of the worst in the league during that stretch. And he's only forced a missed tackle 10%. That's it. 10% of the time. He's been under this in 3 of his last 4 as well. I don't see him getting anywhere close to 70 yards. This is probably like 17, 18 carries, 55, maybe 60 in the end. It's a very stiff, stout, and rigid front of the rival Commanders. Fade or follow, Saquon Barkley, the quads. Not exactly flexing on the under 69.5 rush yards, minus 115 at BetMGM.
69.5, stiff, rigid. Yeah, this is definitely an episode of the Fade 5, folks. We are locked and loaded. I actually, it's not so much that I don't like your logic in this one. It's that I'm not a big fan of where the number's at. And so this is actually one that when I saw it populate, I was like, no, I'm staying away from this one. I don't have a good feeling one way or the other. So this is probably less a fade, Brad, than it is just a pass. Sometimes there's stats that come out, there's games that get talked about, and even on You Bet Tonight on the television show that I do here in Denver, every now and then it'll say Nate's pick at the bottom of the screen, and it'll just say pass, just because it's one of those like, no, just not feeling this one, folks. I'm not going to bet for the sake of betting. So, like I said, not quite so much a fade. I'm just staying away from Saquon Barkley props for this weekend. I just do not trust it in this matchup against Washington.
Barkley won't bring the bite.
Number 1.
All right, off the radar, numero uno on the Fade 5 today is a wide receiver not remotely thinking about. You probably didn't even know really existed unless you're playing in like a 20-team fantasy league. And it's a guy that is overshadowed by Tyreek Hill and also Jalen Waddle on his squad. That is Trent Sheffield. I almost have to speak an English accent when I say that Sheffield last name. And I'm going to take the over on 22.5 receiving yards at minus 115, available at BetMGM. Sherfield splits a lot of time out of the slot and outside. He lines up in the slot 44.3% of the time. And over the last 5 games, he has hit the over in every contest. He's averaging 22.6 routes per game, 3.8 targets per game. He's caught at least 2 balls over that 5-game stretch in every single effort, averaging 11.7 yards per reception on the season. Now, he's going to get a mixture of Charvarius Ward and Lenore in coverage, and Lenore is giving up a 103.6 passer rating in his assignments out of the slot because he is the primary slot DB for San Francisco. So in a game with plenty of shootout appeal, and knowing too that 26, that's right, 26 wide receivers have logged at least 23 yards vertically in a game against the Gold Panthers. I think this is a very doable, very achievable, very attainable over in the end for a guy that is trending in all the right directions here over the last 5 weeks. So feed or follow Trent Sheffield over 22.5 receiving yards, minus 115 at BetMGM. Is that a decent Prince William or no?
No, I got to get I got my coffee cup here. I got my pinky out. I'm trying to, if you're going to talk about it like that, I could pretend this is a cup of tea. And what do they call them? Biscuits, crumpet?
Well, biscuits, cookies.
Okay. Biscuits. But that's what they call them, right?
Yeah.
Look, true story. My sister actually lives in London, and our little nephew, who's about 3 years old, flaming red hair, fantastic British accent, love Theo to death. But he gets very confused whenever he comes to visit us here in the States because we call things different that he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
French fries are chips. Potato chips are crisps. All those, he gets confused, which is exactly how everybody feels right now. A, about your British accent. B, about me derailing the conversation and discussing my British nephew. And C, the fact that they'd never heard of Trent Sherfield prior to this particular episode of the podcast. Folks, This is what Brad does. Brad digs deep, colonoscopy style, to find you. Yeah. To find you the bets that have the value. Follow on this one. You like these ones that are off the radar. Then on Sunday, when you're hanging out at your favorite adult beverage establishment, drop this one on your friends, because they will not have heard of him either, and you're going to look like a freaking genius.
Just do yourself a favor. A, bet on this, and B, screw the colonoscopy. Just poop in a box. With that,
when those ads debuted, it was the weirdest freaking thing I've ever seen.
He was creepy. He was creepy. He's like following people around. It's like, hey, lift my top up and just take a crap in me, please. I enjoy it.
Just dump it right in here. It'll be a lot of fun.
All right, Lundy, let's flush some more cash. It's bonus time. I got puns galore now as a result of the number 2 jokes. What else do you have? And hopefully they do not have a wretched smell.
Well, I think we could actually have a little bit of fun here, Brad. Let's jump into the other sports. First of all, I want to jump back to college football. I told you that I had a money line parlay for you for tomorrow in the championship action. Georgia, Michigan, Boise State. Put those 3 together, Brad. Boise State in the Mountain West Championship against Fresno State. Put those 3 together, plus 104. Yeah. Just over the top. And it's Boise State that helps you get there, because I think Boise State on the money line is only about a minus 155. That's actually what helps put that one over the top, because Georgia and Michigan are so heavily favored. But you put those 3 together, you wind up at the plus 104 odds. That's in addition to the plus 120 that I gave you at the beginning. Money line parlay for you tonight in hockey. There's only 3 games, but there are 2 home teams that I really like. That's the New York Islanders. They're taking on the Preds. And the Winnipeg Jets are at home against Columbus. Take Winnipeg and the Islanders both on the money line. That's going to pay you at a plus 133. Player prop 2-legger in hockey tonight. Mika Zibanejad of the New York Rangers over on 3.5 on his what, Brad? Sogs. Just because you like to say Sogs. Boone Jenner. I'm going to throw him in there over his 2.5 on his shots. Put those 2 together. Oh, sexy. Plus 185. Then over in the NBA, this one's a little bit fun for you. You know what Brad and I like to do? We like to pick on the teams that are terrible in terms of their opponent rebounding averages. And so there's 2 that I like tonight. First of all, the Denver Nuggets will be on the road. They are taking on the Atlanta Hawks. And in that case, give me Nikola Jokic over on his rebounding prop, which sits at 11.5. I know that's a high number, but the Hawks suck on the boards. And you know that Jokic is going to try to clean up the boards. Last year against Atlanta, in the 2 games he had 10 in one, but he had 19 in the other. So I'm going to take the odds on that one that he can get to a dozen on the rebounds. Same kind of idea, by the way, with Drew Holiday. Taking on, of course, Brad, the team we love to pick on when it comes to rebounds, the LA Lakers. And so with that in mind, all Holiday needs for his rebounding prop is 5. His over-under is sitting at 4.5. So I like both of those. But if you want to get crazy with the Cheese Whiz, if you parlay those together, plus 198.
Ooh, get seduced by that juice. That's downright sexy.
That is sexy. And by the way, because I had somebody actually ask me last night at the concert of what I liked in terms of the games on Saturday. Here's what I can tell you. I am not touching the TCU Kansas State game, folks.
No.
That is the one that I refuse to go after. You are talking about, and these are courtesy again of our friends at BetMGM, Brad. You and I get these numbers all the time. In terms of bets on the spread, it is 52-48 in terms of the percentages. It's about as even as you can get. A slight lean to K-State getting the 2.5. On the money line, it is a perfect 50-50. 50% on one side, 50% on the other. That is one that I am absolutely staying away from. I'm really looking forward to the game, but it is not going to get any of my dollars, because do I think TCU can do it? Absolutely. Do I sometimes wonder about a team in that kind of spotlight that hasn't been there in a really long time? Yes.
Yeah, flip a damn coin on that one. I
Yes.
do have one more college football play, and let's go to the Mac Daddies in that championship game. I like the OHIO Bobcats. I'm going to take them. I grab them a +1 in that game. Curtis Work has been outstanding. The quarterback for Ohio, 25-4 touchdown interception split. Toledo has been sensational in pass defense. They're top 20 in the country in that category. So push comes to shove, whoever wins that battle will win this game. I think it's going to be Rourke and the Bobcats, who have won 7 straight contests going into this MAC championship game. Elsewhere, let's go back to the National Football League. A couple of more props that I like. You got to get Rub-a-Dub-Dub, Nick Chubb, on a OGP/SGP. Give me an anytime touchdown. Give me 85+ yards against the Texans. That's +130. Seems like you're just giving briefcases of money away as a result, because Houston can't stop anybody on the ground. Giving up 5.15 yards per carry, 144.3 rush yards per game, and 15 total touchdowns to the running back position. And Chubb is getting right around 18 carries per game. He has cruised past 85 yards in 8 contests this year. He is up there, top 3 in missed tackle rate, top 5 in yards after contact per attempt. Scored a TD in 8 of 11 games. So 100% get on board with that prop. And I like the Derrick Henry over on receiving yards, which is sitting at 12.5 with Ryan Tannehill back under center. Henry is getting right around 10 routes run in a particular contest. Is being featured a couple of times in the screen game, and I think it's going to be front and center against some of that umbrella coverage of Philadelphia, knowing how well that Darius Slay and the rest of the DBs have really played this season. Where they are most exploitable is on the ground, and that obviously benefits King Henry, but also in the short field pass game. So I wouldn't be surprised on a one-play payday on a screen pass. He sprints it for like 20 yards, and you score the cash cover there. And last one I'm going to throw at you is DeAndre Swift. I'm taking the over on 20.5 receiving yards. He's pretty much good for 3 catches every week at this point. He's getting around 15 to 20 routes run in a particular contest. And you're looking at Jacksonville, both teams heading in the right direction right now late in the season. But the Jags have shown some vulnerabilities against the running back position out of the flat. So Swift on some design routes, maybe some screens, maybe some Texas routes, will catch 3 balls, presumably, and those 3 balls will probably go for like 23 to 25 yards. And the line here is just 20.5 on that over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And then let's get some college basketball. Actually, I got nothing in the NBA tonight. I'm totally zeroed in on college hoops. Of course, my University of Illinois Fighting Illini in College Park could take on the undefeated Maryland Terrapins. And hell no! Yeah, Jim Jackson, I'm not giving you a pick of that game. However, the other marquee matchup is Gonzaga and Baylor at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I got a same game parlay here on this one. I got Gonzaga on the money line, and I'm going to take the over on an alt line of 152.5. You slap that together at DraftKings, that's plus 125. Now, you look at the Baylor Bears and really Gonzaga, they're both struggling mighty defensively, not so much offensively. Gonzaga, according to Bart Torvik, number 1 in adjusted offensive efficiency. Baylor is number 3 in that category, but Baylor, a far worse defensive team on paper than the Zags. They're number 76 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency and number 285 in effective field goal percentage defense. So this game's going to be extremely high scoring, probably going to be played in the 80s. And I think in the end, in a neutral court environment, the Zags, Drew Timme time and company get the victory, say like 87-84. So you might be sweating this out. But both those events occur again. Gonzaga on the money line and the over on the alt line, 152.5. And to get it at plus money. All right, we are out of time here on the Fade 5 podcast. Friendly reminder, drop us a rating and a review if you enjoy this program. Also, follow Lundy and all his picks on his free and always accessible spreadsheet on Twitter at Nate Lundy. Follow me as well and my spreadsheet picks at Noisy Huevos. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, fade or follow. That is up to you.